Good evening, YouTube. I am back again. My cat is on the couch over there, totally asleep, and he still looks so cute. I'm talking about 3 books today. First book, written by Charlotte McGruder, Murder in Montgomery, the most heinous crime you never heard of. I agree, it's pretty heinous. It's about a group of men that they all graduate high school in the late 50s, and as adults, they come together for a common purpose, not just that they went to school together, but they find out that they have other things in common, which mainly is that they are all closet homosexuals. Most of these men are married or they're widowed. The widowed guy has a huge estate. He hires out prisoners to do work on his estate. And then they also help in their poker nights. That they're not just playing poker. It's pretty tragic. I have a friend that lives in Montgomery. Her family's lived there for generations. And this isn't a tale of fiction, according to her. This was something that actually did happen, and that's why it's so interesting. I'd really love to see like a Where Are They Now, figuring out who these people really were, because I feel like if this were a true story, there were some horrific injustices done that at this point will probably never be rectified. So if you want to read something that's controversial and scandalous, it's a good read. Like I said, I paid $2.99 for it on Kindle. It's a really, really short book. You know, if you're a fairly fast reader, you can, it's not going to take you a day to read it at all. Okay, the next book, I mentioned this on a book haul that I got. It's by Kenneth Oppel. It's called The Nest. I'm pretty sure this is a kid's book. It's not even like, young adult fiction or whatever. And there's a little boy that he has these creatures that look like wasps, but they're white and silver. And they tell him they've come because of the baby. His parents have had a 3rd child, and this baby has a lot of health problems. And he finds out they're growing another baby. That's not giving away much, I promise. There's a lot more to the book than that. His friend has an imaginary friend called Mr. Nobody. At one point, Mr. Nobody actually calls him, the little boy, on his sister's toy phone, and he speaks to Mr. Nobody. It's a very heroic story. The little boy really comes out of his shell because at the beginning of the book, he's super just scared and anxious about everything. He's kind of become OCD, and he makes lists, and he has to go through these lists every night before he goes to bed, and he has to be covered up a certain way in his bed to go to sleep. He's just a terrified kid. I really enjoyed this book. If I have to read it to my kids, I will, because I think they'll enjoy it. For a little kid, it's a little bit scary without, it's not going to give them nightmares or anything. It just kind of, get their heart pumping a little bit. It was really weird, and it was very interesting. And again, one of the reasons I got the book is I thought that the cover of it was really cool because it involves those wasp creatures. So the book, when you take the cover off, it kind of looks like a wasp nest. The last book I want to talk about, I just finished today. It took me a lot longer than it takes a lot of other booktubers. I don't think that I read slow. I just don't get as much time to read. But it's by Katherine Catmull, Summer and Bird. And I mainly picked this up because I just thought it was such a pretty book, but I actually really enjoyed it. Summer and Bird are sisters. They're quite young. They wake up one morning to find their parents are missing. They're just gone. And so they set out to find them. You find out, as soon as it begins, there's something different about the little girl named Bird. They end up doing dimensional traveling, through dimensions and that kind of thing, but it's not real sciencey. It's more just kind of magical and mysterious. as you could tell, I mean, her name is Bird, so she ends up being able, she can talk to birds and different things. I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. Again, isn't even like young adult reading. This is kids. Hopefully, I can get my kids to read this too, or I'll read it with them, because I would definitely read this book again. There's lots of throughout the book, at the when it goes to a new chapter, it has lots of little twiggy looking vine kind of things and birds in it. So obviously it has a lot to do with birds. But it was really, really neat. It was very imaginative. I could imagine there being like someone being able to make more stories out of it if they wanted to. It was really entertaining, and it was cool to see how the girls evolved through all of their adventures, because they start out together, they get separated, and then they come back together, but so much has happened, and there are so many different feelings and emotions going on, that you hurt for each of the girls. And because they're sisters, of course, it's not that they just love each other, but they're jealous and hate each other and envious of each other as well. So they're dealing with all of that too. So you can't really like, oh, I hate Summer and I like Bird. You feel for both of them. So I would recommend reading any of these books. If you have any comments, please put them below. And until next time, happy reading.